Tonight's show is brought to you by Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika.
Hello, baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Of course, we are live on YouTube and on TikTok right now. We are discussing who will be the next Atlanta Braves manager. Before we can discuss that, we have a list of candidates that we've gone through. We've looked at the betting odds. I tried to compile a list that kind of makes sense. There's some unexpected names in there for sure, but mostly guys that could very well be in the search by the Braves front office. So if you're joining us on TikTok, we really appreciate you. If you're joining us on YouTube, we really appreciate you. On both, if you could just get in the comment section, maybe there's a name that I'm not going to bring up, maybe just a outlandish name that you want to hear me discuss, I'll be happy to do it. So let me know who you think will be the next Braves manager. But as we go through this, we will, of course, refer to the comment section. And, of course, if you have somebody that you want to discuss, put it in there. Also, if you would do us the favor, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on with your Atlanta Braves throughout the offseason and, of course, throughout the 2026 season as well. We're going to start out with the most obvious name. That is, of course, Walt Weiss. If you don't already know, Walt Weiss, current Braves bench coach, has been with the organization for feels like a decade, as long as Snit has been at the helm. He's been around. He also played for the Braves back in the day. He is what most people consider to be Snit's rightful successor, right? He's the guy that makes the most sense. He's the guy that's in the organization as it stands, and he's the guy that most people expect to take over. If you asked me last week, I would have told you he's the guy that I expect to take over, and the main reason is because he's the guy that is within the organization already, right? At your job, if somebody is going to get hired, it's more likely going to be a guy that is in the organization, right? If there's a higher position, they're going to hire from within most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. So a lot of people jump to Walt Weiss and go, well, there's your guy right there. He's got managerial experience. He's been there. He's clearly well appreciated within the Braves organization. He makes the most sense. The reason I have taken a bit of pause on that idea is because Walt Weiss, as well as every other member of the Braves coaching staff, has been given the opportunity to go out and look for other coaching positions if he so chooses. And I think the Braves probably would have held back on that had it just been set in stone that Walt Weiss will be taking over for Brian Snitker. So I don't think it's a given. Do I still think he should be at the top of your list? I do. I think that makes the most sense. I think it's the most likely option. I'm not saying he's outright the best candidate, but I do think he is the candidate that is most likely based on what the Braves historically have done. Think about the coaching tree of the Atlanta Braves over the past 20 years, starting with Bobby Cox. From Bobby, you went to Freddie, who was on Bobby's staff. Freddie gets fired. You go to Snitker, who's in the minor leagues, also coached under Bobby Cox at the major league level. So there is a tree there that starts with number 6, right? So there's a lot of ways this could go. But Walt Weiss, to me, still tops the list. It could change. It may not go that way. Walt Weiss may end up on a different coaching staff. He may end up leading another major league team. But either way, he should be at the top of your list in expectation for who could be the manager of the Atlanta Braves. I don't think they would be wrong in doing so. I don't think you can necessarily be wrong in general. I think Walt Weiss is a really good pick for any team, really. I think a guy with that much experience, not only as a coach, but as a player, is a valuable asset to have. To that same token, that takes us right into our second name on this list that a lot of people have talked about, the Super Chat Z Corp Alpha. You hit it right on time. We're talking about David Ross. David Ross, of course, former backup catcher with the Braves back in 2010 through about 2012. He, of course, backed up Brian McCann at the time. A really good player. Has one of the best final games that you'll ever see for any player. If you don't know what I'm talking about, 2016 Chicago Cubs, they win the World Series. In Game 7, David Ross hits a home run at 40 years old. You can't beat it. For career send-off, that's the top of the list. He also does have managerial experience, which for someone his age is kind of rare. He didn't do a ton of coaching before getting the nod to be manager. Unfortunately for Ross, he picked a bad time to be the Cubs manager. It wasn't so much a World Series contender when Ross took the helm. And he knew that, but when you're a new manager and you're given an opportunity, you take the opportunity that you're given. That was it. It was a team he knew. It was an organization he knew. They knew him, more importantly. And to that point, the Braves know David Ross. They know who he is. He's, without a doubt, by all recommendations, a great teammate over the years. In terms of manager, I don't know. His resume is not long, but he does have experience. He is young. And throughout this entire past couple of weeks since the announcement has been made, and really over the past couple of years of Brian Snitker being at the helm, there's been this desire of the fans to have someone that is younger, to have someone with quote-unquote new blood. I've seen it in the comment section quite a bit. It's been out there a lot. And if you want new blood, here's an opportunity to get a guy who is young, who is younger, and does have managerial experience. A lot of the guys on the list, right? Yadier Molina, Albert Pujols. There's a lot of young guys on the list that don't have managerial experience. This is a guy who's young and does have experience and does have history with Atlanta, and that could be very beneficial if he does desire to be the Braves manager, which, by the way, he's made it pretty clear that he would like the job. So I like David Ross. I like the idea of David Ross. I think it's a pretty solid choice if they go with it, but there's a lot of names on the list. Mark DeRosa is a name that when this first broke, everybody was saying Mark DeRosa. Everybody was saying Mark DeRosa. And I think Mark DeRosa very well could do it. I don't know that he desires to do it, but it does take him from that studio position and puts him back in baseball, which I think he might like. He's a young guy. I think he's got younger kids, if I'm not mistaken. He could very well just want to sit that out and, much like another guy we'll talk about, Chipper Jones, focus on family and maybe be a consultant here and there. But I think he likes that cushy job at MLB Network, and hey, I'm not hating on him for it. I don't know if he's really desiring that job. Do I think he'd be a good fit? Yes. Do I think he'd bring a younger voice and a fiery voice in? Yes. But a fiery voice, though it's popular in the YouTube comment section, a fiery voice isn't always what you need. I saw Brian Snitker get on today alongside Kirby Smart, of all people. He was on with 680 The Fan, and I saw one clip, and it was this one. He was talking about, he's seen a lot of people say that, we need somebody with, fire to get these guys riled up, and I get that, but I also think that all in all, Snit has a point when saying that that's not always the way to go. With this new generation, that can be a turnoff. It's very dependent on the guys you have in the clubhouse. And Snit has been managing long before being a major league manager. The guys that he was managing even in 2016 are not the same generation as now, right? They're a younger crowd, and they don't always respond well to that kind of managing. So as much as we want a fiery manager, it's not always the greatest thing. We interviewed a guy about a month ago, Dave Bristol, a good friend of mine. He managed the Reds back in the day. He also managed the Braves for a short time, and he was known as being a fiery manager. He got ejected quite a bit. He had a lot of passion, right? And when asked about it, he goes, "Yes, I'm a fiery manager. I've been fired 4 times." So it's not always exactly what an organization may need. Although Mark DeRosa, the experience, the history with the Braves, and the young blood does make him a very appealing candidate. Not necessarily a guarantee, but definitely one that makes you go, yeah, I kind of like that. And I do. I really think Mark DeRosa, along with David Ross, outside candidates, if you're not including Walt Weiss, that makes a lot of sense. And there are two camps that we kind of have to designate here. Walt Weiss is an internal candidate, right? David Ross, Mark DeRosa, external candidates. There's a lot more external on this list, but they're not necessarily so far out there. Here's the next one, Ron Washington. This one has gotten quite a lot of publicity. We've talked about it a few times over the past couple of weeks. I have said publicly I don't think they'll go in this direction. I would love to see Ron Washington brought back to the Braves organization in some capacity, maybe as some kind of advisor in a senior role, maybe as, once again, a third base coach, maybe as a bench coach. If you hire Walt Weiss, I would love to see them let Ron take his spot. There's no denying that since Washington left, the infield defense has taken a hit. There's no denying that. And having that guy on your staff is not going to hurt you, but I don't think he'll be manager. If this was 10, 15 years ago, I'd feel differently. If this was even 5 years ago, I may feel differently, but it's not. He's 73 years old. He's coming off a very extensive heart surgery. I love Ron Washington. Love what he's meant to the Braves. His bobblehead's right over there. I don't see him being the next Braves manager. I do think they got to go younger. But here's the thing. Walt Weiss is younger, right? That's what people, are kind of overlooking. The Ron Washingtons of the world, the Dusty Bakers of the world. I just don't know if they're really out, if that makes a ton of sense for this ball club. And I could be wrong, but I don't know if that makes a ton of sense for this ball club. And I could be wrong, but I think they got to go younger. And we can talk about that. There's a younger guy on staff that's gotten a lot of attention, Eddie Perez. Eddie Perez is not a name that I pulled out of my hat. It's not a name that the Braves have said they're interested in. It is a name that you guys brought up quite a bit in large numbers in the comment section on Twitter. It was out there. And I absolutely love the idea. I like Eddie Perez. I always have. He's never left the Braves. Probably could have got more money and a better coaching position along the way somewhere. But no, he has stayed with the Braves. Of course, he played for the Braves back in the early days. But he's also stayed in Atlanta as a coach in any role they wanted him in. And I do like the idea of bringing him in as manager. I don't know if he'll get it. I think, to me, Walt Weiss, if you're going to go internal, and this is an internal move, if you're going to go internal, Walt Weiss is the obvious choice. And if Walt Weiss wasn't there, Eddie Perez probably has a much better shot. The other internal candidate that I have to mention, this got a lot of attention over the past couple of days. I did a short a couple of days ago where I brought up the name Freddie Gonzalez. I did not mean that I think the Braves are going to hire Freddie Gonzalez. I just said, of the internal options, he is an option with managerial experience. I didn't say it was good managerial experience. I just said it was experience. And, of course, the 60-second clip took me out of context. It is what it is. But a lot of attention. A lot of people don't want that to happen. I saw somebody get on my comment section earlier and say they'd rather a ham sandwich be managing the Braves than Freddie Gonzalez for a second time. I don't know if I'd go that far. He is a guy that... not going to say he deserves a second chance, but he's definitely a guy that didn't leave that bad of an impression in the eyes of the front office. He is coaching third base for the Braves, all things considered. So I don't know that it's, necessarily a bad idea. I don't like it. I don't like the time frame of when Freddie Gonzalez managed. It wasn't a fun time. The biggest memory I have from those years is the infield fly. That's what sticks out in my brain from Freddie Gonzalez. And then, of course, a lot of losing clubs as well. So I don't love it. That said, he didn't have the best club to work with either. And I don't want to go nail a guy just because of that. I'm not saying he's earned it. I'm just saying I don't know that that's enough for me to not give him some kind of consideration if they were to do it. I personally don't think they will. I think he was brought in as a coach, and that'll be that. And like I said earlier, all of these guys, all of the internal guys have been told, if you'd like to go look for other coaching positions or take other interviews, you are welcome to do that. That could be signaling a shift. I think Eddie Perez will have his job. He's been there too long. I don't see him going anywhere. I think Walt Weiss, if he would like to stay, certainly will, if he's not promoted. But they've been told, look, you're welcome to go look at other jobs and, see what you can do. That could signal that they are looking to go outward, which I don't think is a bad thing. Bob Melvin was just fired by the Giants. Not the biggest Bob Melvin guy. He was fired for the Giants, but he does have a lot of experience. Bruce Bochy is out there. A Hall of Famer, no doubt about it, will be. I don't know that I necessarily love that idea, but here's the thing. If they were to go get Bruce Bochy, who here would complain about it? Not me. I mean, the guy knows how to win. He's proven that. 4 World Series, if I'm not mistaken. So he knows how to win. A lot of people assumed that when Bob Melvin was fired by the Giants, that Bruce Bochy would go back to San Francisco. Well, we heard from Buster Posey the other day that that doesn't seem to be in the cards. So could he be a candidate in Atlanta? It's possible. I don't know that he wants to manage anymore. I don't know. But if you're looking for younger, Bruce Bochy isn't exactly your guy. He could be a guy, but he's not your guy. To me, we need a guy that's going to be here for a decade. Snit was here for a decade. We need a guy that's going to be here for a decade plus. And to me, that means you got to go younger than Bruce Bochy. Well, another name that has drawn some interest in just the eyes of managerial world, not necessarily the Braves, but a guy that's gotten a lot of attention out there is Yadier Molina. Yadier Molina, future Hall of Famer in my book, will certainly get my vote. Yadier Molina could very well manage a club. A lot of people expect him to manage the Cardinals one day. That could happen. I don't see him managing in Atlanta. I think that's a little too out there of a move, especially with a team like this that does have plenty of talent to win. It's not exactly your first managerial job. He hasn't done a ton of coaching, if any. I just don't know that I see that happening. Same with like an Albert Pujols. That was crazy to me that the Angels were thinking about hiring Albert Pujols. Not so much because of Albert Pujols, but because of the Angels. Albert Pujols is one of the best hitters of all time. I don't know how he is in terms of managing. We won't know till he does it. But I was surprised that he was wanting to go back to Anaheim. And again, you take the job that you can get, but I was a little surprised by that. But to that point, I don't think Yadier Molina will be the next Braves manager. You want someone with experience. You want someone that knows the Braves way and does things a certain way and frankly comes from within to some degree, which is why I do think David Ross and Mark DeRosa kind of fit the bill, and Walt Weiss as well. They fit the bill the most to me, but there are some other names that are out there. I've heard Ryan Flaherty. I've heard Rocco Baldelli. I've heard Kurt Suzuki. Speaking of former Angels, Kurt Suzuki, former Atlanta Brave as well. I don't know that I love it. I feel about the same way about that as Travis d'Arnaud. A lot of folks are bringing up Travis d'Arnaud. Just bring d'Arnaud back. Let him manage. Well, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's still playing. Let's let him finish his playing career first. But a lot of names are out there. One name that has been out there that hasn't quite gotten the publicity has been John Gibbons, who of course managed in Toronto while Alex Anthopoulos was the GM there. So there is a connection to the front office, not necessarily to the organization, but to the people that are in it. There is a connection. He's got experience. But again, if you're wanting to go younger, he's not your guy. He just got done with a coaching stint with the Mets, I think. But I don't think the Braves go there, and it's not because of anything other than I think they got to go younger. If you're not going younger, you're going Walt Weiss. That's the deal that we got right now. If you're not going younger, you're going for Walt Weiss because he's the rightful heir. So if it's not him, you're going someone with a completely new philosophy. Which could be someone older, but I think they're going to want to commit to somebody long term. And I don't know that John Gibbons fits the bill. He could be a bench coach. He could be a third base coach if you wanted to, especially if Freddie Gonzalez was to move on. We'll have to see where it goes. Bud Black is out there. Henry Blanco is out there. He, of course, played with the Braves from '02 to '03. I've seen his name float around. Pat Murphy, current Brewers manager, has been mentioned. There's a lot of current guys who have been mentioned, which has been interesting, which it's not completely unforeseen. We saw Craig Counsell leave the Brewers and go to the Cubs a couple of years ago, so nothing is sacred. No contract is sacred. Things can happen if someone wants to move. But considering that the Brewers are playing right now against the Cubs in the postseason, I don't know that he's going to want to go anywhere. Same goes for Stephen Vogt. I know the Guardians are out, but hey, they had a good run. A lot of people have brought up Stephen Vogt. And let's be clear, Stephen Vogt, a terrific player and a terrific manager with a great connection to Atlanta. No doubt about it. Maybe even better than some of the ones we've mentioned. He's beloved by the fan base, and I think that'd be a well-liked move. And by all indications, he's a great manager. I just don't know if that's going to happen because he's already currently hired by the Guardians. If he was out there and was a managerial free agent, I think you have a rock-solid argument to bring in Stephen Vogt. But because he's already signed and because he's under contract, that's a detractor. I'm not saying it's necessarily a given, but it's a detractor. Alberto Callaspo is out there. Ray Montgomery is out there. And with number 20, we're going to bring up a name that is some of you are either going to roll your eyes or you're going to comment negative things, but it's been talked about and we have to talk about it. Chipper Jones. I have seen more fake posts about this in the past week on Facebook that, frankly, the older crowd, I love you, but you're believing it, and it's not true. Chipper has stated outright that he is not having any interest in managing full-time. He managed the Futures game this past year, which I think kind of caused this uprising. Not that it wouldn't have already been there to some degree, but because he showed a slight bit of interest in managing, this has now started. And I would say this, as much as Chipper is beloved in Atlanta, he brought up a good point when asked about it, because I was in the press conference. I was there when he was asked this. And he was asked, basically, would you like to manage the Atlanta Braves one day? We've heard you manage, we've seen you manage this game. Would you like to manage the Braves? And he brought up a good point. Not only the fact that he's got kids at home and a wife at home that he promised that, until the kids are old enough, he's not going to be interested in any of that. But he also said, what would the GM do if he had to fire me? Is he really going to fire the best known Atlanta Brave that's alive? That'd be a tough sell. And that's the position that the GM puts himself in. Chipper basically made it clear that he likes where he is in an advisory role where he can show up to the ballpark, assist with a hitting coach, or give some pointers and maybe make some decisions alongside the front office, guide them a certain way. He's also been quite a mouthpiece for the front office over the past couple of years in some sticky situations. Remember when Freddie Freeman happened? He was the one out there basically giving the Braves side of things publicly, which Double-A couldn't really do, and neither could Snitker, and neither could anybody. Chipper was the guy that did it. So I think he likes where he is. I'm not saying it would never happen, but I don't think it's happening in 2025 or 26. Maybe not till after 2030, if it is ever to happen. He may be, if we get a manager for the next decade, he may be the guy that comes after that. But I don't see it happening. He's already said he'd rather be a hitting coach, which I do think actually fits him better. Not saying he couldn't manage, but I think he'd be a better hitting coach. He's one of the greatest switch hitters of all time. He knows how to hit from both sides of the plate, which he can help probably anybody. He's assisted a lot of guys over the years with their swing. I think that fits him better. But again, never say never, but I am saying not happening in 2025. One name that has been brought up extensively on my TikTok, on YouTube, on Facebook, and it made me smile. It is a name that I absolutely love the idea. Terry Pendleton, 1991 National League MVP. And A through and through Atlanta Brave. He has been with the organization, I want to say, going on 20 to 30 years. He, of course, played with the Braves. He's now traveling the minor leagues, going from single A, double A, triple A, rookie ball, wherever he's needed. He is traveling. I've seen him here in Columbus coaching with the Clingstones, looking at guys, assessing guys, and seeing where the minor leagues are. He was a big reason that we had the minor league influx that we did a few years ago. I actually interviewed him a few years ago. I want to say about 2018, maybe 2019. Super nice guy. Has always been a friendly face. Anytime I see him, I have to explain, hey, do you remember me? I interviewed you at an autograph show 6-7 years ago. And it's, oh, yeah, I do. We always catch up. I would love this. I would absolutely love Terry Pendleton getting that call. I don't know if he's going to get it over Walt Weiss because he hasn't been in that position every day. Sometimes it's a right place, right time, but he's certainly qualified. He was a bench coach and third base coach under Bobby Cox. He's under the learning tree. He'd be a Snitker type figure. I spoke the other day, and I was talking about, we could get a manager from within that we don't even realize is a candidate, right? Like the double-A manager, the triple-A manager, the single-A manager, most likely triple-A. But you get my point. Terry Pendleton's a guy that has probably the longest resume out of anybody that's in the minor leagues, and could very well get that call. It'd be an unexpected move, but it'd be one that I would like. I think, he can definitely light a fire. There's no doubt there. And he definitely has the experience as well. One other name that we're going to talk about really quickly that has gotten quite a bit of media attention is Tony Vitello, Tony V from Tennessee. This is interesting. I'll be honest, I don't know a ton about Tony V. I know he's got a great program in Tennessee with the Volunteers. I don't know a ton about him because I follow Major League Baseball far more than I do college baseball. I follow college baseball to a degree, but it's primarily Auburn, Georgia, and Alabama, which are the teams that, frankly, my work covers, my news station covers. So I don't know a ton about him. I've tried to do some research on him in the past few weeks. I don't know if I would like that move or not. We'd have to go with it and see where we're at. But he would bring some young energy. He would be a guy that the Braves could commit to long term. He's got a connection to the South in some degree. I don't know if that's necessarily the favorite move here, but it's a move that they could make. And I wanted to discuss it, and I wanted to just put my thumb on it to some degree. But I don't think it's going to happen. With all the guys that we've mentioned, I don't know if the Braves are ready to bring in a guy from the college ranks when you have guys with major league experience, frankly, at your disposal looking for a job. It could happen. I'm not going to say it couldn't happen, but I don't know that they're ready to make that move. DOB, David O'Brien, made that prediction a couple of weeks ago, and I don't hate it, but I don't know that I'm buying it either. So that's kind of where I'm at. But let me know what you think. Get in the comments section, you guys. I see you, T-Rob. Get in the comments on TikTok. Get in the comments on YouTube. Let me know who you want. Let me know what you want to do. We're going to go to a quick break. When we get back, we're going through all your comments, and we're going to go basically, we're going to go through them. I'll tell you what I think. If I haven't already mentioned them, we're going to go through them. And remember, TikTok, we don't go to break on TikTok. So if you want to watch us there, you can. If you're watching us on YouTube, we appreciate you. And of course, we'll be right back.
Are you looking for a powerful new Chevrolet or GMC truck and a great deal? Check them out side by side at Glenn Smith in Opelika. Take your choice of new Chevrolet and GMC 1500 trucks discounted up to $12,000 off. Chevy and GMC heavy duty trucks discounted up to $7,000 off. People from all over the USA save at Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika, Alabama. Get ready to smile. Get ready to smile, because it's Truck Month at Glenn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika. Take your pick of over 40 brand new Chevrolet Silverados, discounted up to $14,000 off while they last. New Chevy Equinox, the compact SUV featuring high-tech options, discounted up to $5,000 off. Enjoy no payments until summertime. Choose from over 500 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. GlennSmith.com. Get ready to smile. Are you looking for a powerful new Chevrolet or GMC truck and a great deal? Check them out side by side at Glenn Smith in Opelika. Take your choice of new Chevrolet and GMC 1500 trucks discounted up to $12,000 off. Chevy and GMC heavy duty trucks discounted up to $7,000 off. People from all over the USA save at Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika, Alabama. Get ready to smile.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Again, we are live here on YouTube. We are live on TikTok. Get your comments in. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know how you feel the Braves are going to go with this managerial search. Here's the thing. The manager search is just one aspect of this offseason, right? The manager, you got to figure out probably first. And with that manager, you're going to discuss team makeup. You're going to discuss the bullpen. You're going to discuss the roster and the moves that you need to make to bolster your team. But all things considered, the manager is going to be the first thing. After that, we can talk about the rotation and the bullpen and all of that. But manager is the number one. I just said this on TikTok. I'm going to repeat it for the YouTube guys. I would say, to me, if you put a gun to my head and made me pick a guy, I'm going Walt Weiss. I think that's the most obvious choice. If you're going to point a gun to my head and say, okay, well, what about the external options? I'm going David Ross. As of now, a lot can change. David Ross could get a job next week. We don't know. But I think this is not going to be the fastest process. I think they're going to want to do this the right way, and I would not expect anything less in that regard. Z Corp Alpha put in a super chat early on, and he brought up David Ross prior to me naming him. And I would say this, because you gave a super chat, I'm going to try to do a deeper dive on that. I really like David Ross. I like him as a person. I like him as a coach. I loved him as a player. As a kid, I watched him on the Braves, right? I was 10 or 11 years old when he was backup catcher. And, I stood on the first baseline trying to get his autograph, and he was nice enough to give it to me. Love David Ross. Got a lot of great memories there. I don't know if I value what he's going to bring over Walt Weiss or maybe another candidate, but I like him. I think in terms of team energy, he could be very good for the Braves. In terms of experience level, he doesn't have it over a lot of these candidates, right? And that's not a knock on him. We're talking Hall of Fame level candidates. Bruce Bochy. You can't top that. That said, Bruce Bochy may not be interested. We don't know. But there's a lot of candidates that are out there that have a ton of experience. And I don't know that David Ross is going to be able to match that. But I do think what you're going to get with his overall energy and demeanor overrides a lot of that. Same can be said for a Mark DeRosa or, even somebody like Eddie Perez to some degree. What you're going to get out of them energy-wise could override that lack of experience. And here's the thing. It's not just management experience. It's coaching experience. And if you can get that, that is a component of this as well, right? David Ross doesn't have a ton of it, but he does have more than pretty much anybody else his age, and that cannot be overlooked. Aiden Grady says, go Astros. Hey, are they in the postseason? No, I didn't think so. Okay, we're moving on from that. Z Corp Alpha, thank you. We appreciate you. Random, can you contact the Braves organization for me? I would like to fill the manager role. My name is Greg Maddox. All right, so that's a knock for... All right, we got a new candidate on the market, everybody. Greg Maddox. I'm going to ask you this random, and this is a random question, but do you think Greg Maddox is ready to leave that millions of dollars of a house he's got in Malibu to coach the Atlanta Braves? I mean, let's just think about it. I don't think so. I don't know that he has any interest there. I think out of the big three, you'd be more apt to get a John Smoltz in that role, even though he's a broadcaster now. And to be honest with you, out of the three, I think Glavin's going to override Maddox in the desire category to come back to baseball. Maddox made his money, and he loves baseball, I'm sure, but I don't see that desire. I think he's kind of proved what he needed to prove. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't hate it. I don't think it's bad. I don't think he's really of that mindset. And, I kind of have not an inside track to any degree, but, Maddox, I'm really good friends with Leo Mazzoni. I know Leo really well, and we've spoken about, who could be a manager, and the competitive edge of Smoltz, which is well documented, but I think that would override anything, to be honest with you. I think if Smoltz wants to do it or is challenged to do it, he would do it. But I don't think any of those three will ever be manager. I mean, Glavin's a broadcaster now too. So, and when you think about it, of the three, there's only one that's not really involved with baseball on a day-to-day basis, and that's Greg Maddux. Surratt, what do you think of Chipper as manager? I already discussed that. Brandon Edwards, I'm keeping an open mind. Ross Lombard, Weiss, Flaherty, EY, Rocco, Osmus, Gibbons, Bochy, to name a few. You mentioned a few names in there that I didn't really talk about. Of course, Rocco Baldelli. EY is one I didn't bring up because, to me, as much as we love EY, I don't know that I see him as manager. There hasn't been something that I've heard of EY over the years where I'm like, that's our guy, right? Like Ron Washington. I interviewed Wash for 7 minutes, and I got about 13 minutes worth of sound bites, if that makes sense. Just knowledge and, boom, boom, boom. The guy's a walking sound bite, and because of that, that gives us the impression that this dude can manage, this dude can lead a team. Love EY. Don't know that he's got that ability. He does have the ability for team energy, for sure. And probably for the young aspect as well. And he's got a connection to the organization. I'll give you all of that. I don't know that he's got that same gift of gab that Ron Washington does, just because I haven't seen it. Not saying he doesn't have it or he couldn't do it, but I don't know that he's got that. I don't want to put EY on the same level or pedestal as Ron Washington. The experience level is not quite the same. Great coach. I don't know that I make him a manager, if that makes sense. Not to knock him, I'm just saying I don't know that I'd put him there. That was my reasoning for not putting him on this list. Nicholas C. says, I could totally see David Ross being the manager. Yeah, absolutely. It could very well happen, and really, it could be anybody. We don't know, but we're kind of guessing here, and we're going with what we think, right? My personal top 5 is not on this list. This is just most likely. If you gave me 5 choices for manager right now for the Braves, number 1 would probably be Mark DeRosa. That'd be my personal number 1. Number 2 would be David Ross. Number 3 would be Walt Weiss. And here's how I'm measuring that. What I want versus what I expect, right? So number 3 is Walt Weiss. That's the most obvious choice. Below that, I'd probably go Terry Pendleton. And to round out number 5, I'm throwing in Bruce Bochy because the Joker's in the Hall of Fame already. The moment he hangs it up, he's in. So it's hard to really go from there. That's my personal top 5. What's most likely to me is Walt Weiss. That's a given. But to me, that's how I'm looking at it. Yasuki Knight, maybe one day, but I don't see it happening anytime soon. I assume you're talking about Chipper there, maybe Tony V. Nicholas C., I don't think it's happening. He made it seem like he doesn't want to manage. That's Chipper. Yeah, it's not happening. Yasuki Knight says it is going to be a name that we have heard before. That I agree with. I agree with it will be a name you've heard before. I think it's most likely a name from this list if I had to guess. But again, it could be somebody. I mean, think about it this way. When Brian Snitker took over as interim manager in 2016, how many of us actually knew who he was? I mean, in the broader Braves fan base, how many of us knew who he was? My intern in here raised his hand. John raised his hand. I will raise my hand too. But not that many casual fans are going to know who that is, right? That said, it could be somebody like that, and that's where I think a Terry Pendleton shines. That's where I think Eddie Perez or Walt Weiss shines. I don't think it will be Freddie Gonzalez. Let me get that out there. I guess I didn't make that clear enough last week. I don't think it will be Freddie Gonzalez. But he is a candidate, and he is inside the organization, and that can't be overlooked. But I don't think it will be him. Stephen Vogt, again, if he wasn't signed as a manager to Cleveland, I like that a lot, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm looking at this list. John Gibbons could very well be the manager. I don't think it'll happen, but it could be. Jacob Redmond, I wonder who he's related to. My brother comments on here, I'll be shocked if it's not Walt Weiss. Saw some rumors of them going down the college coach route, perhaps. We'll have to see. Jacob, the unpaid intern, decided to make an appearance tonight in the chat. Very rare occurrence for us. The college ranks, if you're going to go to the college ranks, Tony V seems to be the one getting the most attention. I don't think that the college ranks, how do I put this? I think that will one day happen if it has not happened already. I'm sure it has. I don't know that the Braves are in a position where they want a college coach, because I don't know that they're going to want someone from outside the major leagues right now. And the reason I say that is the talent level for the Braves is they're at a high. It doesn't feel like it in their record and the way we played, but Ronald Acuna, Riley Olsen, they got the talent, right? I don't know that they're going to want to go with a college coach unless they just want to go completely radical and completely change, which very well may be the case. But if that's the case, I feel like at that point, a David Ross or a Mark DeRosa is more likely. And that's how I'm going off of what's most likely. Most likely is Walt Weiss. It's the most likely choice there is Walt Weiss. But after that, it is a focus on, if it's not Walt Weiss, it's a focus on youth. And that can't be overlooked. If it's not Walt Weiss, the rightful heir to the throne, if it's not him, then it's going to be someone focused on youth. A DeRosa, a Ross, or they just want a Hall of Fame manager and Bruce Bochy. They could go that route too. But I really think if it's not Weiss, it's going to be focused on youth, which does give credence to the idea of the college coach, which I think would probably be Tony Vitello from Tennessee, though he's not the only one out there. There's a lot of guys at the college ranks that could be considered. We'll have to see how the coaching search goes. And at some point or another, more and more guys are going to get crossed off this list. We've already seen Skip Schumacher get hired at Texas. He's off the list, right? So we're going to have to see how it plays out. But that's kind of how I'm viewing it. And again, it could really be anybody. It could really be anybody. So Burton Cap says, I agree, either Terry Pendleton or Walt Weiss. Tanya Belcher says, is Ronald Acuna Jr. going to be mad and not like the new manager? Well, of course, we heard inklings and rumors and pretty much directly from Ronald Acuna his thoughts on Snitker over the past couple of years. This is what I'll say about that. I think a lot of it was taken not out of context, but more so just ran with on social media, which happens. Obviously, Acuna made some comments that were not the best, but I do think there's genuine love there. I think Brian Snitker genuinely loves Ronald Acuna. He has defended him when he got hit by Jose Urena or any other Marlins pitcher. He has come to his defense in quite a few things. Never aired anything out publicly. Acuna has obviously not taken to the criticism very well. And, I don't know the inside conversations there. But we've heard what Acuna put out there on social media. Here's what I'll say. I think whoever comes in, it is going to be very important for them to have a good relationship with Ronald Acuna. I do think that. Now, how long are they planning on Acuna staying? That's a good question. It's 2025. It will be 2026. That's exactly 5 seasons of Ronald Acuna left on his contract at the rate we're going. When he gets done, will he want double what he's making, triple what he's making, quadruple what he's making? Well, it depends on how he's playing. We don't know. What we do know is we have 5 more years of it, for sure, in Atlanta. I hope we have long after that. But right now we know we have 5 years. The next manager will likely have the last 5 years of that, and it cannot be wasted. That's why I think Mark DeRosa could be a very valuable asset. He understands how valuable an Acuna is, how to play a Ronald Acuna, how to use him at his best, right? He understands the value of a Matt Olson, of an Austin Riley. And that window is not that much longer. 2030 is probably the end of the window of the Braves playing with the crew they have right now and being successful. You can keep the crew, but they're not going to be the same as right now. They're going to age. They're not going to be the same. You can go get a new crew, but either way, this particular window is not that much longer. We're already seeing the end of contracts for a lot of these guys. Ozuna, we don't know where he's going to be. Ozzy Albies, we don't know where he's going to be just yet. I assume we're going to pick up the option, but that hadn't happened yet. After that, we don't know next year. We don't know what's going to happen. So that window is going to be very important for the next manager. That's another reason that I'm not so sold on this whole college coach idea. I want a guy who's going to come in, know what he has, be able to assist the GM in bringing more guys in that will bolster the roster and make this team better now. This isn't a Miami Marlins situation. It's not a Oakland A's situation. It's not a team that needs rebuilding. It's a team that's supposed to be winning now. We didn't this year. We didn't the year before. We got to start winning now. And to me, that's a big reason why we're in this managerial search to begin with. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. We will have to see. In terms of will Ronald Acuna like the new manager, probably more than he liked the old one. I don't know. But I think Acuna is a professional, and whoever they bring in will have to try to work with him. And, we'll hopefully be able to control it and be able to be on a good wavelength with him. That's what I'm hoping. Somebody suggested Nick Allen as Braves manager. Look. We love Nick Allen. Gold Glove defense, okay? No doubt about it. I don't know. I think that guy's younger than me, if I'm not mistaken. We'll have to see. But that's pretty much where we're at on the manager side of things. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I did want to talk about one other thing tonight. I got a great comment earlier, and I wanted to bring this up. I'm going to read it pretty much in its entirety. Forgive me. This was from Kyle. He says, I have been saying this since early 2024. This is in response to the short that came out today where I basically questioned whether or not the Braves strength and conditioning programs were up to par, which I think with the injuries that we've had, not only this year but also 2024, is a fair criticism. And this is what he said. He said, I've been saying this since early 2024. Look, I'm not, nor have I ever been in sports medicine. I have a personal trainer's license. I've never used it. I don't claim to be an expert or know what exactly the problem is, but I've worked with enough trainers in sports medicine programs to see that there is a problem. The first thing that really lit it up was early 2024, Murphy, then Riley, and then one other player that all had oblique strains at the same time. 3 out of 26 guys on your MLB roster, more than 10% all down simultaneously with the same preventable, non-contact soft tissue injury. Something is wrong. And to be completely upfront with you, I've been saying this since 2024 as well. Not early, because to me it was like, oh, okay, well that can happen. That's not, it's weird, but it's not completely out of the ordinary. 2 years of it, though, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, you know the phrase. We had multiple pitchers this year have arm and shoulder injuries with the same story. They kept ramping up their velo every time till something broke. They were obviously not taking proper care that their arms could handle what they were doing. These are all things that you are supposed to have athletic trainers overseeing at the prep level. At high-caliber athletic schools, we had full strength and conditioning teams who went over all of our workout programs, diet, what we did to warm up, not cool down. Talk to us after every practice and game to make sure that we did not need extra attention or adjustments. This was a high school, and it doesn't seem like the Major League Atlanta Braves are getting that kind of care, and I think it is largely because it's a very new wave, and the guys running this team are very old school. I agree that some of the analytic stuff is dumb, but there are good things in modern athletic philosophies that we need to adopt, because I think right now our guys under 2025 stress with 2010 care, and that can't work. So this kind of goes to the whole managerial thing, the theme of tonight's broadcast. I am not calling anybody out. I am not calling for anybody's job. All I am saying is I'm pointing out the obvious. We have an injury problem. Well, okay, it's one of a few things. It's either your pitching coach or it's your strength and conditioning. I'm not blaming the pitching coach, because 5 injuries don't just happen because of your pitching, okay? Pitchers today are under a different kind of stress than 10, 15 years ago, even 20 years ago, even 5 years ago. And I don't know that the Braves are up to par. This isn't happening widespread across baseball. Pitchers are getting hurt, no doubt about that. What's not happening is 5 members of your rotation, your opening day rotation, out for long periods of time. That does not happen. And obviously the Chris Sale thing, broken rib cage on a diving play, we'll let that one slide. But Grant Holmes, Ronaldo Lopez, A.J. Smith-Shawver, Spencer Schwellenbach, all gone. That is unusual. And following a 2024 season that was more tumultuous with injuries, it's not a good look. And all I'm saying is, if I was the front office, I'd be circling that. I'd be looking into that. What are we doing? What kind of other philosophies can we take as an approach? Because what we're doing now ain't keeping anybody healthy. It takes a lot for me to bust out the ain'ts around here, but it's not keeping anybody healthy. And I just feel like at some point something's got to give. If you're not going to change your overall approach, I think you need to change your strength and conditioning approach. Again, not calling for anybody's job, not saying anybody needs to go, but what they're doing is not working. And I don't want 2026 to start with a pitcher getting hurt or even a batter getting hurt. We were talking about oblique injuries. How many obliques did we have this year? How many, just torn muscles or not torn muscles, strained muscles, just things that didn't used to happen with the Atlanta Braves are happening a lot more. And part of it is players are getting older, no doubt about that. But this is a weird rate. It feels like it's an exponential increase. And I don't know how to fix it either. And I don't know what to do. I'm not an expert. I'm, as Kyle said in the comment, I am no expert. I am no medical science expert. All I'm saying is that looks like a problem over there, and somebody needs to fix it. That's all I can say. So let me know what you think in the comments about it. I hope they do something to fix it, but that's kind of where we're at. All in all, Tanya says, Nick Allen needs to be gone. I don't like him. We need a new shortstop. Well, we got to find a manager first. But I'll tell you this. I like Nick Allen a lot. I hope in some capacity he's brought back in 2026. Not as our everyday shortstop, but the dude does play next level defense. There's no denying that. The bat's light. I'm not going to fight you on that. But I do think that all in all, Nick Allen is a good player. And I think he's obviously very well liked in the Braves clubhouse. But beyond that, you can't argue with his defense. And late in games, you never know when you might need a guy that can just use his glove. And, he made some plays this year that were just outright impressive. And I'm not going to shake a stick at that. But I do think that we need to find some offensive security at shortstop. If it's not going to be Ha-Seong Kim, which there's no indication to say that it won't be. If it's not going to be him, it needs to be somebody equal to or better than. And we need to find somebody that we can commit to for at least a couple of years. Because far as I can tell, there's not anybody in the Braves minor leagues that's just screaming for a major league debut at the shortstop position. There are at some other positions. Our pitchers down in Double-A were great this year. Blake Burkhalter, quick up and down the minor leagues. J.R. Ritchie, Hayden Harris as a reliever. There's a lot of guys that are out there, but all in all, there's no denying that we need some offensive security at shortstop, and it's not going to come from the minor leagues, in my opinion. But we'll see. Jacob says it's time to drop the money on Bo Bichette. I don't know what Bo did this year, and I'm not knocking the comment. I don't necessarily mind it. A lot of people have brought it up. I just don't know that we're going to drop the money. But the thing about it is this, with Bo Bichette specifically, the luxury tax we've talked quite a bit about. I do think that the Braves will have some financial strains loosened this year. I think that they will be able to spend more money more freely because the luxury tax has been reset. That is one of the rare good things about a bad season is you don't have to spend money down the stretch. You just get replacement level players and you can save the money, which they have. The luxury tax will be reset, and I do think that they will spend money. I don't know that they're going to spend Bo Bichette money. I think they will spend money in the rotation. I think they will certainly spend some money in the bullpen. If there's one position that you do need to spend money on, no doubt about it, it is shortstop. I don't think we need to pay Ozuna to come back. I think Ozuna can leave, and we can have Baldwin and Murphy in the lineup every single day. Obviously until an injury happens. But that's what I do. I do think that. And I think you can save that $16 million, put it in your pocket, and maybe go after somebody with, if you can offer Bo Bichette $20 million a year or $25 million and he takes it, maybe it is worth it. But the longer time goes on where we don't have a certified shortstop, whether it be for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever the contract is, the longer it goes on, the more people are going to look at that Swanson move, not re-signing Swanson, and go, that wasn't a winner, AA. And, right now, that's kind of how it feels, right? With Freddie Freeman, it stunk, but, we got Olsen pretty much right on time, right? So that one was, okay, whatever. It stinks, but we got an all-star certifiable bat. I mean, Gold Glove defense, we're good and we got a long term. We're good on that. As Ron Washington once said, if you can't have Freddie Freeman, Matt Olson is the guy you want. And that happened, and it was like, okay. But then Max Fried happened, and we didn't really replace him. Charlie Morton left. We didn't really replace him. That's gonna age bad. And then Dansby leaves, and you don't replace him. You got Orlando, and Orlando there for a season and a half was great. He was an all-star. Arguably had better numbers than Dansby, but you didn't have we're locked in. This is our infield captain. This is the guy. You never felt that way. As much as anybody out there may love Orlando, it just hasn't felt like we got a complete infield. Hasn't felt that way since Dansby left, let's be honest. And until they get somebody that they can put the stamp on and go, this is our guy, and he shows some results, we're going to be wondering, man, should we have done more to keep Dansby? And that's not a good place to be for any team that loses a player like that. So all in all, I think that 2026 will shape up to be better than 2025, but I do think that they're going to have to go spend some money on shortstop, on relievers, on possibly starters if not everybody comes back healthy. Even if everybody does come back healthy, I almost want to go get a couple starters just to know that we're good and we're going to be secure throughout the entirety of the season. So we'll have to see how it goes, but all in all, that's how I feel. So we're going to wrap it up on that note. Thank you for joining us on TikTok. Thank you for joining us on YouTube. Really do appreciate it. If you would, drop us a follow. A lot of you guys tuned in on TikTok tonight. Follow us, like the stream. Go check out our other videos. Ton of them out there. If you're on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We really would appreciate it. Hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck, and of course with the Atlanta Braves throughout the offseason. Also a reminder, go check out our friends over at Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika, Alabama. They have been a great sponsor for us. They have helped us stay on the air, and look, they have made it a lot easier to do. Well, that was weird. Let's try that again, huh? They've made it a lot easier to do the things we do. I don't know why there's a freeze frame of me, but we're gonna edit that one out. Again, thank you TikTok, thank you YouTube. We'll see you next time right here at On Deck.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.